Have you ever poured your heart into something, only to feel completely invisible in your own home? The early evening sun hangs heavy over the Hensley townhouse, turning the sky outside a gentle apricot. In the open-plan kitchen, the air is thick with the aroma of garlic and fresh herbs. Maya Hensley moves with determined grace between the gleaming marble counters, her hands busy, yet her mind restless. She arranges vibrant bowls of roasted heirloom carrots, carefully slices a rosemary-crusted roast, and gently spoons homemade vinaigrette over a mosaic of greens picked that very morning from her own backyard garden. Every detail matters. Tonight isn't just about food, it's about family. Maya pauses, glancing over her shoulder at the large window above the sink. Beyond it, the backyard glows with the last of the daylight, the vegetable beds she planted in the spring now lush and full. She wipes her hands on a linen towel, her eyes tracing the outlines of the table she's set, crisp white napkins folded just so, mismatched pottery plates, each one with a story. A small mason jar of wildflowers, freshly bought, completes the centerpiece. Her heart quickens as she remembers. Years ago, dinnertime meant laughter, stories, and the comfort of togetherness. She can still hear the echoes. Jonas, then a kindergartner, giggling at Sophie's jokes. Eli teasing her for burning the garlic bread. Sophie, always eager to share some new fact from school. But those evenings have faded, replaced lately by a quiet that seems to grow heavier with every meal. A muffled ding cuts through her reverie. From the home office down the hall, Eli's voice is barely audible. He sits in front of a pair of computer monitors illuminated with spreadsheets, his brow furrowed. "Yeah, I'll get those numbers over by tomorrow," he says into his headset, his phone buzzing on the desk. Another work group chat, another urgent email. Upstairs, Sophie's laughter erupts from behind a closed door, mingled with the rapid clicks of her phone's keyboard. Her room is a pastel-colored world of posters, Polaroids, and soft LED lights. She's sprawled across her bed, thumbs flying as she records a video message for her friends, not noticing the hour. Jonas, tucked into the corner of the living room, wears oversized headphones and clutches a game controller, his gaze glued to the glowing television. Digital explosions flash across his face, his lips moving in silent coordination with the fast-paced action on screen. Now and then, he glances down at his phone, checking for new notifications from his favorite YouTubers. Maya stands in the center of her kitchen, her gaze drifting from the simmering stovetop to the empty hallway. She inhales deeply, trying to chase away the swell of doubt that threatens to rise. This dinner is supposed to be different. She's spent weeks planning every detail, scouring cookbooks, visiting the bustling farmers market downtown for the freshest produce, even waking up early to harvest herbs from her garden before the morning dew dried. She's done all of this in hopes of reviving what once seemed effortless, the feeling of being a family. A sudden memory flickers. Last Thursday, setting a plate of homemade pasta on the table, only to find Eli answering a work call, Sophie watching TikToks, and Jonas glued to his favorite Let's Play video. The food went cold. The silence was deafening. "Not tonight," she tells herself, pressing her palms against the countertop. Tonight, things will be different. The afternoon before, seeking a dose of encouragement, Maya stopped by the flower shop on the corner of Maple and 14th. The bell above the door chimed, and she was greeted by the warm, familiar scent of lilies and Helen Park's easy smile. Helen, her auburn hair pulled back in a loose braid, stood behind the counter arranging a bouquet. "You look like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders," she teased. Maya offered a sheepish grin. "I'm just putting together this dinner. I want it to mean something. I want them to notice." Helen's eyes softened. She set aside the bouquet, dusting her hands on her apron. "You've always cared, Maya. That's what makes it special. But you can't force them to see it the same way. Sometimes you have to tell them what you need." Maya looked down, fiddling with a stray ribbon. "I just wish it didn't feel like I'm the only one trying. I miss when we all showed up for each other." Helen began tying a pale blue ribbon around a bunch of wildflowers, her movements gentle. "Families drift, but they can always find their way back. Just don't lose yourself in the trying." The memory lingers as Maya places the last fork on the table and steps back, surveying her handiwork. The dining area, bathed in the soft glow of pendant lights, looks like a page from a magazine. Every seat is set, every glass sparkles, and the air is alive with hope and a pinch of anxiety. She moves to the hallway, pausing for a moment to smooth her dress and steady her breath. Her reflection in the hallway mirror shows a face younger than her years, eyes bright with anticipation, but shadowed by worry. She forces a smile, willing herself to believe, tonight will be different. Maya calls up the stairs, her voice warm but trembling at the edges. "Dinner's ready. Let's eat together, please." From above, Sophie's door opens just a crack. "Coming!" she calls, though her fingers are still tapping a final message. Jonas, meanwhile, hesitates, pausing his game and looking longingly at the screen before reluctantly pulling off his headphones. Okay, Mom. Be right there, he mumbles. Eli emerges from his office, phone still in hand, eyes not quite meeting hers as he types out a quick reply. Just finishing up, Maya. Smells amazing in here. As the family drifts into the dining room, Maya's heart beats faster. She tries to read their faces. Sophie distracted, Jonas fidgeting, Eli already glancing at his screen. Still, she holds on to hope. The table is set, the food is hot, and for a brief moment, the world feels full of possibility. She smooths her dress one last time and steps into the gentle glow of the dining room, her smile unwavering, but her eyes searching. She pulls out her chair, careful not to disturb the carefully arranged centerpiece, and waits for everyone to settle in. Outside, the sky has faded to a deep indigo, city lights flickering on in the distance. The quiet hum of traffic drifts in through the window, mingling with the faint clatter of cutlery. Maya looks at her family, gathered at the table yet miles apart. She takes a breath, her thoughts swirling. Do you ever feel like your efforts go unnoticed? The question lingers in the air, silent but powerful, a thread of vulnerability that ties Maya's heart to anyone who has ever longed to be seen. She lifts her glass, voice steady but soft. I'm just glad we're all together tonight. Her words hang in the air as the family, still half in their own worlds, begins to eat. Maya watches them, hopeful, anxious, determined that this moment, this dinner, might be the start of something new, or at the very least, a chance to be heard. And so, beneath the warm lights and the hopeful eyes of a woman who refuses to give up, the Hensley family's dinner begins, not with laughter or stories, but with a fragile, flickering hope that maybe, tonight, things will finally change. A faint chime echoes from the hallway as Maya sets the last crystal glass on the dinner table. She smooths the linen napkin at Eli's place setting, her fingers lingering for a moment on the soft fold. The table glows beneath the overhead pendant lights, platters of lemon herb chicken, rainbow roasted vegetables, and a salad dressed in a tangy vinaigrette shimmer against the polished wood. She places a tiny terracotta vase in the center, filled with sprigs of lavender Helen handed her that afternoon. Maya stands back to admire the tableau, her vision of what family, togetherness, and a little effort can look like. She inhales deeply, pressing her palms to her apron. She calls, voice bright and steady. Dinner's ready. Footsteps sound overhead, then the creak of Jonas's bedroom door. He shuffles downstairs, eyes fixed on the tablet cradled in his hands, thumbs dancing across the screen. Sophie's door opens next, her phone already raised, thumb scrolling with practiced speed as she descends the stairs in her fuzzy socks. Eli emerges from the home office, Bluetooth earpiece still clipped to his ear, glancing at a watch as he slips his phone into his pocket. He manages a smile, distracted. Smells amazing in here, Maya. Jonas slides into his seat, barely glancing at the food, his gaze darting between the tablet and the plate. Sophie slouches into her chair, her phone propped against the water glass, face illuminated by its soft blue glow. Eli sits, checks his phone once more, and sets it face down beside his napkin. Maya takes her place at the head of the table. The anticipation that fluttered in her chest all day now coils tight, almost painful. She lifts her fork with forced cheer. So, how was everyone's day? Jonas grunts, fingers still moving, eyes never leaving his game. Good. Sophie glances up for a split second, her mouth twisting in a practiced smile. Fine. Just a lot of stuff at school. She laughs at something on her screen, then quickly types a response. Eli's phone vibrates. He checks it, hesitates, then sighs and slides it back. Busy. We're onboarding a new client, so lots of calls. He takes a spoonful of carrots, barely noticing the careful seasoning. The only sounds are the faint clicking of Jonas's tablet, the soft buzz of Sophie's phone, and Eli's sporadic sighs. The meal Maya spent weeks planning sits untouched, steam curling lazily into the air. She studies her family, the way Jonas's shoulders hunch forward in concentration, Sophie's fingers drumming out a silent rhythm, Eli's brow furrowed even in this quiet moment. She tries again, voice a little softer. Sophie, did you end up talking to Mrs. Larkin about your science project? Sophie's eyes flicker upwards, then away. Yeah, she said I could use the library after school. Her thumb is already scrolling, her mind elsewhere. Maya turns to Jonas. And you, buddy? Still working on that new level? Jonas's lips barely move. Almost beat it. Eli, sensing Maya's gaze, musters a tired smile. Food's great, honey. She waits for someone to ask her about her day, about the beautiful meal, about anything, but the silence is filled only with digital noise. Maya stares at her hands, the chipped polish on her nails, the faint red marks from hours spent chopping and stirring. She flashes back to last Thursday, when she brought home fresh sourdough from the market, only to find the kitchen empty and the bread untouched hours later. Or the weekend before, when she suggested a family walk, met by groans and headphones. Each memory stings, the pattern too familiar. She forces a smile, pushing a piece of chicken across her plate. Does anyone want more salad? No response. A message buzzes on her phone from Helen. Thinking of you. You've got this. Let me know how it goes tonight. Maya's thumb hovers over the reply button, then withdraws. She glances at her family, afraid that drawing attention to herself, to her disappointment, will only make things worse. What if they roll their eyes, accuse her of nagging? What if it makes Eli even more withdrawn, or pushes Sophie and Jonas further into their digital worlds? She feels a pang of doubt. Maybe she's making too much of it. Maybe this is just what families look like now. But then, she remembers the laughter from years ago, a trivia game that spiraled into hysterics, the way Sophie used to help her set the table, Jonas's stories tumbling out between bites. Her chest tightens. She tries again, voice trembling just slightly. Remember when we used to play Guess Who Cooked at dinner? I made your favorite tonight, Jonas, lemon chicken. Want to guess the secret ingredient? Jonas glances up, distracted. Pepper? He shrugs, missing the point, and returns to his screen. Maya's attempt crumbles. Eli's phone vibrates again. He checks it, sighs, and stands up. Sorry, I have to take this. It's work. He disappears into the hallway. Maya's fork clinks against her plate. She watches Sophie and Jonas, both lost in their screens. The kitchen feels suddenly cavernous, echoing with all the things unsaid. She gathers herself, refusing to let tears rise. Instead, she tries one last time. Why don't we put our phones away for a few minutes? Maybe we could talk? Just us? Sophie groans, not unkindly, but with the reflex of someone asked to give up oxygen. Mom, I'm just finishing something. 2 seconds, I promise. Jonas doesn't even look up. Maya's phone buzzes again. Helen. Another message. Whatever happens, you did your best. Don't give up. Maya slips her phone into her pocket, feeling the weight of her neighbor's words. She looks at her family, at the meal now cooling on the table, at the lavender centerpiece she thought would make everything feel special. A small voice inside her wonders, is it really too much to ask for a single dinner together? Or is this the new normal, a family together, yet alone? She stands up, collects a few empty plates, and carries them to the kitchen. The scrape of ceramic is the only answer. She looks out the window at the dusky sky, the garden she tended with hope, and her own reflection, unsure, tired, but still searching for a way to be seen. If you've ever felt ignored at your own dinner table, you're not alone. Take a moment now, hit subscribe, and share your story in the comments. Let's build a community of support for anyone who feels invisible in the places that should matter most. Maya wipes her hands on her apron and steels herself for the rest of the evening. For now, she can only collect her thoughts, gather the fragments of her hope, and wonder what, if anything, can truly bring her family back to the table. Maya couldn't remember if she had ever felt so alone in a room full of people she loved. The dining table, usually a patchwork of laughter and overlapping voices, was transformed tonight into a silent island lit by the golden glow of pendant lamps. The food, her food, sat untouched. The carrots glistened, the roast's crust promised warmth, and the salad sparkled with droplets of vinaigrette. Still, all that color and care was dimmed by the blue light reflecting off 3 faces, her husband and children, each absorbed in their own screens. Eli's eyes darted between his plate and the phone beside it, thumbs moving fast as he typed a terse reply to someone at work. Sophie scrolled through a cascade of filtered images, occasionally letting out a quiet huff, fingers moving in practiced flicks. Jonas, earbuds in, held his phone under the table, his fork idly poking at a carrot as he stifled a giggle at something only he could hear. The only sound in the room was the faint clicking of cutlery and the distant buzz of notifications. Maya's own hands remained in her lap, fingers twisted in a nervous knot. She cleared her throat just loud enough to break the trance. Did anyone see the garden this morning? The tomatoes are finally coming in. They're so much brighter than last year. Sophie didn't look up. That's cool, Mom. Jonas? Maya tried, her voice a shade more hopeful. You liked planting them with me, remember? Huh? Oh yeah, Jonas mumbled, eyes glued to the tiny screen. Looks good, Mom. Eli at least made an effort, setting his phone face down. Sorry, hun. I've just got a few work fires to put out. But dinner smells amazing. He offered a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. Maya felt the edges of her vision blur. She blinked hard, refusing to let the sting turn into tears. Not yet. I spent all afternoon on that roast. It's a new recipe. I thought we could all try it together. No one responded. A notification chimed, and Sophie's phone vibrated against the table, breaking the brief silence. "Oh, Maya, relax," she told herself, forcing a smile as she lifted her fork. She counted the seconds, hoping for a shift, some spark of conversation. Nothing. The world outside the window was turning dark, the last rays of sun sliding behind the fence. The warmth that filled her chest as she planned and cooked began to fade, replaced by the cold ache of disappointment. Maya pressed her lips together. She reached for her own phone, almost by reflex, and stopped herself. The urge to disappear, to escape into a screen, was suddenly overwhelming. Instead, she placed her napkin on the table, stood up as quietly as she could, and pushed back her chair. No one looked up. For a moment, she hovered by the table, hoping someone would notice, say something, anything. Her heart pounded in her ears. When nothing happened, she slipped through the sliding door into the backyard. The sudden cool air brushed her cheeks, carrying the scent of basil and earth. The garden she'd tended with such care was a dark silhouette against the indigo sky. Maya lowered herself onto the old wooden bench by the fence, wrapping her arms around her knees. The muffled sounds of her family inside, Sophie's laugh, Eli's low voice, Jonas's game, felt a world away. She bit her lip, fighting tears. "Why am I always the only one trying?" she whispered. The question echoed in the quiet. She tried to remember the last time she'd felt heard, truly seen, by the people who mattered most. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A message from Helen. "How's dinner going? Thinking of you." Maya stared at the screen, her thumb hovering over the reply button. "Perfectly," she wanted to type, but the lie caught in her throat. Instead, she put the phone away and closed her eyes. A few minutes passed. A lifetime. Or maybe just seconds. Then, a gentle voice called from the other side of the fence. "Maya, are you out here?" Maya startled. The gate creaked open and Helen stepped through, holding a bouquet of lavender and sunflowers. Her jacket was dotted with rain from the short summer drizzle. "Sorry to barge in. I had a feeling." Maya tried to muster a smile, but her face crumpled. The tears she'd been holding back spilled over, quietly and without drama. Helen sat beside her, setting the flowers on Maya's lap. "Hey," Helen said softly. "I've been there." Maya wiped her cheeks with the sleeve of her cardigan, embarrassed. "I just wanted one nice dinner. I planned everything. I tried so hard, Helen. It's like I'm invisible." Helen's gaze was steady, warm. "You're not invisible. You're just surrounded by people who've forgotten how to see what matters. That doesn't mean you stop showing them." Maya's shoulders shook. "I'm so tired of being the only one who cares. If I speak up, I'm afraid they'll think I'm nagging, or worse, that I'm overreacting." Helen reached over, squeezing her hand. "You are allowed to care, and you are allowed to ask for what you need. It's not selfish, Maya. It's honest." Maya looked at the house, the windows glowing. What if it just makes things worse? Helen shook her head. "The real risk is letting your voice disappear. If you don't tell them how you feel, how will they ever know? Sometimes people need a little nudge, a wake-up call. You're not asking for the moon. You just want to matter." The words settled over Maya, heavy and comforting at once. She let herself sit in the silence, the scent of lavender mingling with the cool night air. She pictured her family inside, so close and yet so far. "What if they don't understand?" "Then you tell them again," Helen said, gentle but firm. "You show them. You don't have to fix it in one night, but you also don't have to do this alone." Maya nodded, something shifting in her chest. For the first time since the evening began, she felt a thread of strength winding through her disappointment. She drew a long breath, then another. Behind them, the sliding door opened. Eli appeared, silhouetted by the dining room light, phone in hand. "Hey, Maya, are you okay?" Helen squeezed Maya's shoulder. "Go on," she whispered. "You've got this." Maya stood, dusting off her skirt, and walked back inside, Helen's flowers pressed to her chest. Eli watched her, concern crinkling his brow. "Everything all right?" he asked, setting his phone on the counter. Maya paused, gathering herself. Her voice was soft, but steady. "No, Eli, actually it's not." He blinked, caught off guard. Sophie and Jonas wandered over, drawn by the change in tone. Maya set the bouquet on the table, her hands trembling. The kids glanced at each other, sensing the tension. "I spent weeks planning tonight," Maya began, her gaze moving from face to face. "Not just the food, but everything. I wanted us to have one meal where we were together. Really together. But it feels like I'm the only one here at all." Sophie frowned. Mom, we're here. No, Maya interrupted, voice breaking just a little. You're not. You're here with your phones, with your friends online, with your work, Eli. I'm not angry. I'm just tired. I want us to be a family and I can't do it alone. Jonas shuffled his feet. Sophie looked away, suddenly very interested in the pattern of the tablecloth. Eli's shoulders slumped, guilt flickering across his face. Maya inhaled, grounding herself. I'm not asking for every night. Just this one. Can we please put the phones away and be here, just for a little while? The silence was thick, charged. For a moment, Maya thought none of them would move. Then Eli reached for his phone and turned it off, sliding it into a drawer. Jonas slowly unplugged his earbuds, setting his device aside. Sophie hesitated, then placed her phone screen down in the middle of the table. No one spoke right away. Maya's heart hammered so loud she thought they must all hear it. Finally, Eli cleared his throat. I'm sorry, Maya. I didn't realize how much this meant to you. I guess we all got a little lost. Sophie's voice was barely above a whisper. Me too, Mom. I'll try. Jonas nodded, eyes wide. Sorry, Mom. The payout, sharp and bittersweet, settled over Maya. They hadn't known, not really. They'd been wrapped in their own worlds, blind to hers. But tonight, for the first time in what felt like forever, they were looking at her, listening. Maya reached for Eli's hand, then Jonas's and Sophie's. For the first time that evening, the warmth she'd been craving flickered to life, not just from the food, but from the people she loved. Outside, the last light faded. Inside, the Hensleys sat together, present at last. If only for a moment, it was enough. Maya lingered in the backyard, her eyes tracing the delicate veins of a basil leaf between her fingers. The world felt unusually quiet, as if even the birds were holding their breath. She could hear the faint clink of cutlery through the open kitchen window, the distant hum of a video game, the soft ping of notifications, sounds that had become the background music of her family's life. Under the gentle glow of the porch light, Helen's bouquet rested on her lap, petals trembling in the evening breeze. Helen had left with a warm hug and words that lingered like a melody. You're allowed to want more, Maya, but you have to tell them what you need. Maya replayed those words as she inhaled the floral scent, letting it fill the hollow space inside her. For a moment, she thought about staying outside until the stars came. Maybe, she mused, if she disappeared long enough, someone would notice. Maybe that's what it would take. But as the cool air settled around her, something shifted. She remembered the laughter that used to echo in their home, the way Sophie's eyes lit up when sharing stories from school, how Jonas would beg for one more minute of board games, Eli's gentle hand on her shoulder after a long day. She missed them. She missed herself, too, the version of Maya who believed she could make a difference. Determination quietly formed within her. She stood up, brushing invisible crumbs from her jeans, and walked back inside. The dining room was exactly as she'd left it, her family clustered around the table, faces lit by the blue-white glow of their devices. The centerpiece of wildflowers, arranged just that afternoon, stood sentry between plates of untouched food. Maya's chair was empty. She paused in the doorway, her heart racing. Then, with a gentle but firm voice, she spoke. Could everyone please put their phones down for a moment? The words landed softly, but with enough weight to shift the room's energy. Heads snapped up, some in surprise, some in confusion. A few seconds of silence stretched between them. Eli was the first to respond. He set his phone down, concern flickering in his eyes. Is everything okay, May? Sophie rolled her eyes but lowered her phone onto the table. Jonas, sensing the seriousness in his mother's tone, reluctantly paused his game and looked up. Maya took a breath, feeling her hands tremble. I know this might feel dramatic, she began, her voice steadier than she expected. But I spent weeks planning this dinner. Not just the food, but everything. I wanted us to have a night together. Really together. I miss how we used to talk and laugh. I miss feeling like we're connected. She looked around the table, meeting each pair of eyes in turn. I know we're all busy, and I know I can be a little much sometimes. But tonight, I just wanted to feel like I mattered. Like my efforts mattered. Like we mattered to each other. Even just for one meal. A hush fell over the room. Sophie's gaze softened, shame flickering across her face. Jonas fiddled with his fork, avoiding Maya's eyes. Eli reached out, taking her hand in his. I'm sorry, Maya, he said, his voice gentle. You're right. I've been distracted. I didn't realize how much this meant to you. There was a pause. Sophie cleared her throat. I guess I just didn't think. I'm sorry, Mom. The table looks amazing. Everything smells really good. Jonas nodded, cheeks flushed. I can put my tablet away. For real. Relief washed over Maya, mingled with something new. Pride. Not just in her family, but in herself. She had spoken her truth, and they had listened. Eli squeezed her hand. Let's start over. Phones away, everyone. One by one, devices were put aside. Sophie even powered hers off with a dramatic flourish. The room felt lighter, as if someone had opened a window. Maya sat down, letting herself be present, really present. She watched as her family reached for the food, curiosity blooming on their faces as they sampled dishes she'd poured her heart into. Conversation, tentative at first, gradually warmed. Jonas recounted a funny moment from school. Sophie shared a story about a group project gone wrong. Eli joked about a virtual meeting mishap. The laughter, once lost, returned. It wasn't loud or constant, but it was real. Maya felt the invisible threads of connection weaving between them once more. After dinner, as plates were cleared and leftovers packed away, Sophie lingered in the kitchen. "Hey, Mom," she said, her voice low. "Next week, maybe I could help you cook. I want to learn how to make that vinaigrette." Maya's heart swelled. "I'd love that, Soph." Jonas piped up from the living room. "Can we do board games after dinner tomorrow?" Eli, arms full of dishes, grinned at Maya. "And maybe a no-screens rule at dinner from now on?" Maya smiled, warmth radiating from her chest. "Deal." That night, as she slipped between cool sheets, Maya let herself savor the quiet. Not the isolating silence of before, but a peaceful hush filled with possibility. She realized the change hadn't come from a grand gesture or a perfect meal, but from a simple act of honesty, speaking up for what she needed and trusting her family to hear her. In the days that followed, things weren't perfect. There were still rushed meals and the occasional phone at the table, but something fundamental had shifted. Maya learned to voice her needs sooner, sometimes with humor, sometimes with gentle reminders. The family, too, grew more mindful. They began to cherish their time together, carving out screen-free moments not just for Maya, but for themselves. And Maya discovered something else, too. Her voice was strongest when it came from a place of love, not resentment. She saw her family not as adversaries, but as partners capable of change. As the weeks passed, Maya and Sophie experimented with new recipes. Jonas became the unofficial game night captain, and Eli made a habit of asking, "How's everyone really doing?" at the start of each meal. The house was still filled with the buzz of technology, but now there was a chorus of shared stories, laughter, and the clatter of forks against plates. The table, once a battleground of silence, had become a meeting place for the messy, beautiful business of family. If you've ever felt unseen or unheard by the people you care about, Maya's story is a gentle reminder. Sometimes real connection starts with a vulnerable conversation. It takes courage to speak up, but the rewards can be sweeter than any homemade dessert. What about you? Have you ever felt invisible at your own table, or struggled to balance family time with the constant pull of screens? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. Let's support each other as we find new ways to reconnect. If this story resonated with you, give it a like and share it with someone who needs a gentle reminder that their efforts matter. And if you want to see more real-life stories like Maya's, don't forget to subscribe and turn on those notifications. There's always another chapter to every family's journey, and I'd love for you to be part of ours. Thank you for spending time with us today. Remember, your voice matters, your story matters, and sometimes all it takes is one honest moment to bring people back together. See you in the next video.